council have a lot to answer for, and boy, does the community roar when it roars. We're going to talk about it today when it comes to assets that are owned by the community, council assets. Thank you. Spicy topic.
The classic council cleanup. And it's not the one on the streets.
We're getting into politics. This is dirty.
This is dangerous. But it's a great topic. It is a really good topic. And as you said, when decisions like this need to be made with community-owned assets, people do get behind it. They do love to know about it. And if it's, in their neighborhood, in their back garden, they often want to have a bit of the say.
Well, you know what? It's first of all, I've got to frame up who owns this stuff, and there are people that feel like they are more the natural owners to this stuff than other people. Now, if you look at a council park, if you look at a council facility, one would say the ratepayers are the people that are the natural sort of owners or guardians, things like that. First Nation, all that. There's all that sort of stuff. But I think probably the right approach is everyone's a contributor, and your tenants that are renting in the area, your people that are working and spending and supporting in the area, your people that are paying the rates, your people that were brought up and built the area, our founders. I think everyone's got this stake, and I think often when there's some sort of talk about these assets, some people think that it's the councils and the council owns and the council sort of can do with it. But I think where the problem is, and which is a beautiful problem, I think, is that everyone weighs in on these conversations because everyone's got an interest vested in community things. And what got me going this morning was you, Billy, talking about the council doing the right thing, selling, giving away some assets. And I was like, nah, they didn't give it away. Do you want to explain?
Well, there's a really good example down in DY, Walter Gore's Park. If you haven't been and you're not a local, take your kids. I'd absolutely love it. I was standing across the road on Howard Avenue from the park on Sunday, and I was showing a buyer through a one-bedroom property, and I was saying, this is a really, really nice area to be in. A couple of reasons. One, the apartment doesn't actually have parking, but it's got a great council car park 50 metres up the road. So after hours, after 6 p.m, it's not regulated. You can park there overnight and then pick your car up in the morning. But you've also got that park, which had $4.5 million spent on it about 3 or 4 years ago. It's an awesome little...
You just stop there for a sec. I still get astonished with how much public facilities actually cost. Like, it's a piece of dirt, and they've spent $4.6 million, and it's still a piece of dirt.
Yeah, but this isn't just any piece of dirt. It's DY's best.
It's not just a million, like a little bit of money. It's $4.6 million.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, but they've really transformed the whole of the Howard Avenue sort of landscape with this park. Walter Gore's Park is the name, and It's got everything from slides for kids, play area. It's also got this water fountain area where water's shooting out of the ground, a bit like you see at the water park. It's got a really nice sitting area, and then as a part of the redevelopment, they actually gave away or flattened 3 existing old cottages and turned that into more green area. It expanded the park 3 times the size.
It's pretty impressive, these assets that they got. I still can't get over how much they cost to build some of this stuff. It's just incredible. And another thing I can't get over is the really fun toys in parks that I grew up with that are now gone because they're dangerous.
Yeah, yeah, they've got
Some
ping
of
pong
the
tables now.
yeah, yeah. Um, so where are we going with this, Billy?
Well, the conversation of today is what happens when an old asset gets looked at and repurposed. Another real good example you came up with this morning is the hospitals of the Northern Beaches. They, made a decision that Manly Hospital, which was an existing building that had been used for, I would say, close to 50, 100 years, maybe longer. It was really, really old.
Yeah, yeah.
And one down in Mona Vale, similar story, that it could be, brought together and, made better use of money and space if it was combined. So hence the French's Forest Hospital, was looked at as the next best option.
Yeah, I think the community's got to just, and the government, the council, has got to have a good hard look at some of these facilities because to actually run them can be a lot more expensive, and there's a huge inefficiencies in some of these assets.
Yeah,
Something that I found really interesting that they've been doing over the last 15 years is allowing commercial businesses into these facilities. An example of that would be some of the surf clubs.
yeah,
They've allowed cafe operators to come in and pay them 100 grand. Like these guys don't have to do anything. The facility's already there. All the council has to do is allow the operator to operate. The operator pays them 100, 150 grand a year, and the council's given them an area which is 10 metres by 10 metres.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
the question from there is, okay, well, the moral question is this truly what the community wants, and are they truly benefiting from it? It was built as a surf life-saving club. It was built as a club. And it's like, okay, they're going to benefit. Is the community going to love and benefit and be happy with what's being provided now on a pay for profit basis? People are in a cafe, they pay for a meat pie. The guy supplies it and profits a little bit from it. So it's changed. It's gone from something that basically there was not much. It was a non-for-profit organisation running from there to a profit organisation running from there. It seems the community's happy with it. My view, I think it's great because sometimes you do want a drink or something to eat right on the beach. The operators of cafes in the surrounding areas would feel a bit chomped because it's like, hang on a sec, you just like, it's a government asset now that's competing against me and they're taking rent. So I can see when there's this swap of assets, whenever government does something like that, there's a lot of people that want to poke a stick at government, and sometimes in a non-harmful way, just to actually ask genuine and correct questions on if it's being handled properly.
yeah. But I think in most part, Northern Beaches Council do a really good job at this stuff, and
Yeah, I do. I've got to say, I agree.
Success. Really, really good success. I think it's exciting what's happening down in Manly. Looking at some of the buildings down there near the pavilion, that's pretty exciting. The old aquarium, and I think they do consult the community before making these big decisions. Obviously, that takes time. That's the only downside when you want to get something through. But Walter Gores Park is where this conversation came from this morning, and they've smashed it. Really good job.
Look, and there's and also people got to understand some of these assets are locally owned assets, and some of them are nationally owned assets and some of them are state owned assets. Um, some of these assets are owned by they've changed the name now, but it used to be the maritime services used to own a lot of the wharfs and things like that. Those assets,
Yep.
but I think when you can really be progressive and look at and take a good hard look at what's obvious and what's there that should not be there, it's a really hard thing to look at. So to stop to look at an old toilet block that Lisa's mentioned, that's pretty useless. And to say, look, we can actually add double the cubicles here, brand new, so we can refurb that facility to brand new, double the cubicles, and we can fit a coffee shop in next to the toilet, and we can pull $100,000 a year rent out of it. That's a really clever approach on a very small scale on how to look at some of these assets. I think
Yeah.
it's sad when the government sells these assets, but a hospital is a good example on scale of one. I think over a 5-year period, the Frenchs Forest Hospital, $5 billion, $4 billion went into that, but they retired two very, very old and hard to run and hard to maintain assets, and then they double down on a brand new building. So I think as a community, sometimes it appears as greed or hard to watch, but I do think on most part, having so many people in the areas governing the councils, I think on most part these guys need a big pat on the back. They're always getting a kick up the arse of what they shouldn't be doing, but I think if you look across our community, they've done a good job.
I agree. Well done, NBC, Northern Beaches Council.
Boom. Have a great day, Bill, Bob.
You too. See ya.
Billy, the old man, the young man's body.
This is the park for anyone wondering. That's just a snippet of it.
Yeah. Oh, do yourself a favour. You know, I was talking about spending that much on a park, and it's a preposterous amount of money. Have a look how much that play equipment costs. It is out of control what it costs to buy like a table and chairs. You know, it is, but it's stuff that does last for a good 10 years, sometimes 20 years. It's very long lasting stuff. That's the problem. That's why it's so expensive out in the sun. See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.